1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not a lot of thousands for 38 units.
No, it is not.
Today we're talking about how we bought a property that was listed since I was 8 years old.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. I'm Christian, this is Cody, and here we go. So today we're talking about the 38 unit apartment that was listed since Cody was 8 years old. It was on market for 13 years, and it's the first property the two of us bought together.
It was listed for $2 million in 2008. And in 2021, we bought it for $2 million.
Yep. Now, to be fair, in 2008, that is way too expensive for the property.
Yes.
However, fast forward 13 years of appreciation.
It was a little better.
Yeah, it was a lot better. A lot of units in that area, depending on the class of building, are going for anywhere from 100 all the way up to 135 for that age of building, cost per unit. Again, this is a 38 plex, so when you're picking up for $2 million, that's in the ballpark of what, 55 a unit?
Yeah, just a little less.
You're not spending a whole bunch per unit. So how did this deal come about? Like, it's been listed, everyone's seen it. Why did everyone pass on it?
Well, it wasn't making any money. It was actually losing money, meaning if you paid cash for the property, you would lose money every month without a mortgage. That's a bad place to be. That's what we call a negative cap rate.
Now, hold up. We always talk about cash flow. So if you're buying a property that doesn't make any money, and this was our first deal, how does this fit into our principles?
Well, it was only making about $5,000 a month gross income on 38 units. And so I counted on my handy-dandy calculator, and I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not a lot of thousands for 38 units.
No, it is not.
So what we did is we looked at the math and said, okay, this is a big project. That's the reason nobody's buying it.
Mm-hmm.
What could it make every month? And our mortgage at the time when we bought it was $7,000 a month. It eventually went to $10,000. But we had a vision to get the rental income to $30,000 a month. And on $30,000 a month, I figured that we could pay $10,000 and we'd still make a little bit of money.
Now, one of the first things you need to do is you need to map out a course towards how am I actually going to hit my goal. And for us, this was in the middle of the lockdown. So this was 2020 to 2022 range. So while everything was shut down, there were a ton of government programs. The biggest issue with the payments were a ton of non-pays. There were assistance programs available for almost every single one of those non-paying tenants. They just had not had any coordination because there was no management. Because we owned a property management company, or we were in the process of starting one at the time, that was going to be the first big project of let's reach out to the government agencies and let's make sure that within the first few months we can get a majority of the collections fixed, because the rent roll versus the income actually being received, the rent roll was much higher and the property would cash flow if you could collect on the rents.
Yeah, just off their low rents, it should have been bringing in about $18,000 a month. And they were bringing in 5, which is really, really low on 38 units. So we lived off the government money for a while. We used that to fix up the properties. And as we started to get the properties fixed up more and more, some people left, a lot of people stayed. We started getting higher and higher rents as the complex got nicer, which allowed us to take it to a bank loan, get the money out, and then really throw that back into the property to make it a $4 million asset instead of a $2 million asset.
Which brings up another fantastic point. Brought it into bank debt. So everyone who had looked at this deal previously had looked at it as two options. You can either cash out, so you can just pay $2 million in cash, which on a huge project with a little bit of risk, that's a lot of money to dump into one acquisition.
And if they saw the project all the way through, it'd be worth $4 million. They'd double their money before the rental cost.
Yeah. Still a good deal, but that's a very large down payment to pick up a very large project, and the rental cost would be significant. So assuming that you don't have that liquidity to put into Moses Lake, Washington, the other option would be to bank finance it. But on those rental incomes in a building that has some major repair issues that needed to happen, there's absolutely no way a bank's going to lend on it. That's why it sat on market for 13 years. No one wanted to do the project, and the two traditional ways that you would acquire it were not options. I guess the third way would be you can get a hard money loan to try to get the project done and rapidly refinance
Well, that's really not going to work. If you're going to 10, 12% rate,
yeah,
that's not going to fly.
You're going to have a huge cash negative, and quite frankly, the other players in the market had other deals that were a lot less work that they would rather buy, which is why this sat there. The lesson here is that these deals do sit around in every market. You can find properties like this listed on the MLS, and we do a ton off market as well, but it's about 50-50.
Yeah, we're closing on 2 off market deals within the next month.
But what we wanted to illustrate here are these are deals that could have been sitting on market since you were a child, which is true for Cody. I am only, 8 years older than you, so I was still in high school when this property was first listed. I wasn't shopping or a potential buyer for a 38 unit property
I think I was in third grade.
when I was learning how to drive. Like, it's just not going to happen, right? These have been sitting around. So for everyone out there who's going to, I can't find a deal, or, oh, the market's not right, or any of these things, you can find these deals listed on the MLS year after year after year. It's how are you going to look at this deal and how would you make it work? And if you are the group that says, I can do this, and I have a path to close it, to fix it, and to keep it forever, that's a deal that you can do. Let's talk about the acquisition on this. So we've gone over the options. You can use hard money, which would be, I think, the worst way to take it out.
Irresponsible.
Huge cash negative on high debt. You can do it in cash, which would make sense, but you have to have a lot of cash. That's why no one did it.
We were only shy $2 million.
Yeah, well, we had about 100,000 on my end, so yeah, only almost all the $2 million.
But that was debt.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, I had
That
to
was a
borrow
HELOC.
against my house. Yeah, so we could tap. We were only missing like $1.9 million of the ability to buy that. Or you go through a bank, which wouldn't work. So we opted for creative finance. What did the actual terms look like? And most importantly, what was the seller's goal that we needed to hit to make this happen? Because no one asked the question.
Well, their mission was to get to 10 grand a month. And so what we did is we mathed it at an interest rate that worked for us where they'd get 10 grand a month. Now we negotiated seller financing, $1.7 million loan. So we still needed 300 grand down, but it was $1.7 million loan at 4%. Now the payments were not $10,000 a month. Amortized, they were like 80 something $100 a month. It was like 8,200. So what we did is we added additional principal payments to that to get them to their goal, which allowed us to get a very low interest rate on the deal and get them to their end goal of $10,000 a month so they can do exactly what they want to do. Now, where that goal came from, I don't know, because the property sure as heck wasn't paying them 10 grand a month, but glad we could hit their goal.
It's what they wanted to seller finance the property. And what that allowed us to do is come in and say, can we do less down? So we came in 15% down. They gave us a decent term on it. And when you add to the interest, the nice thing with that is the goal for us was eventually to bring it into bank debt. So while we're hitting their goal, we're paying down the property. All we had to do on that property was get the income up enough to service the actual running of the building, so your taxes, insurance, utilities, general maintenance, and for us a lot of septic, because those had to be pumped a ton of times to get them back up and running. But as we fixed all the deficiencies with the property, we had to be able to cover those costs and the mortgage, which at the time, if we could make about 14 grand a month, we're in profit. Now today, the property, I believe the last month I saw, we brought in 22 and we still have 6 units to lease.
Which is a much better place to be.
Yeah. Property is 2 years in. I would say we're probably 45 days out from bringing in $30,000 a month on that property. I think that's a realistic target. You can absolutely hit that. The project's there. We did the project. But you have to be the group that wants to do it. There's a few things that were unique about us. First of all, and if you're a note taker, this is one of the big ones, we figured out what the other party wanted. No one else realized that it was $10,000 a month was the magic number where they're like, we can retire and ride off to the sunset. So identified their goal. 2, we took inventory of the pieces we had. We didn't have a lot of money. We didn't have a ton of experience, but we had a lot of time. That was the beginning of our career. Cody had 30 units that he was self-managing. I had 4 units, but I had just gone through a reno project in that market. Between the two of us, we had the time, the energy, a portion of the experience, and the risk tolerance to go in and say, this is the deal. When we pull this off, it's going to put us on the map. It's going to make us $1 million, and we're the group to do this.
And we pushed towards stability first so we could get consistent income, and now we're pushing to optimization. We've got another $8,000 to go on the income. It's going to come from leasing 6 units and doing a couple more rent bumps because we just did a ton of rent now. But that took time. It took 2 years. It wasn't get rich in 30 days. It wasn't pressing a button, but it did happen.
Now let's close on this. We bought the property for $2 million. We put about $650 into renovations. What did it last appraise for?
3.8 before we did all that reno.
So realistically today it's worth 4.1, 4.2 conservatively?
Yep.
Okay, so we've about doubled the value. We're in it, $2,600,000. Purchase plus renovation.
That reno money came from the refis for the bulk of it.
Yeah. We refied multiple times through the project, but all in all, in $2.6 million into the deal, bought for 2, put $600 in it, and now it's worth 4.1. That is one where we made over $1 million on that. It was our first deal. It sat on the market for 13 years. For everyone saying you can't do this I don't care where you are or what the market's doing. these deals are there. They sell market
And we
futures.
refinanced when the rates went up. It's
Yeah.
not like we have a 4 or 5% interest rate right now.
No, it is not.
We are close to 7. It still works.
Yeah. So, if you want to learn how to do more deals like this, get more tips and tricks on how we structure these creative deals or just how to run real estate in general, give the channel a follow, shoot us a like, and we're going to see you guys on the next editor. Sorry, right on the end.
No, we're not editing. See you on the next time.
See you on the next episode.